G'day everybody and welcome back to a brand new video on the YouTube channel, and today I'm going to be going through my mid-season AFL ladder predictions. Now if you guys do enjoy this video, feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and hit the notification bell so you can be notified when new videos coming out. Enough wasting your time, let's get straight into these predictions. To start off the ladder, in 18th position, the wooden spooners of the year will be the Richmond Tigers. The Tigers so far have only won one game this season, and it seems like every time that they lose, it's always by an absolute smashing. The only other time that I see the Tigers pulling off a win is potentially in round 21 against North Melbourne, but even then I think North Melbourne could potentially pull off an upset win against the Tigers. At the time of this video coming out, the mid-season draft will have already happened, but at the moment I'm seeing that no matter who they pick up in the mid-season draft, it's really just not going to have an impact on their club. Overall, I just don't see this club improving very much this year, and I'm going to say that they finish at the bottom of the ladder. In 17th place, we've got the North Melbourne Kangaroos. At this point in time, in round 12, North Melbourne are still yet to win a game, but I do see them pulling off some upsets potentially this year, maybe against West Coast and Richmond. North Melbourne really just aren't a great side at the moment, and I just don't see them evolving into a better club for another 5 years or so, considering most of their losses are by 40 plus points. But the last thing I want for this club this year is for them to receive the wooden spoon, which is why I put them in 17th position on the ladder. In 16th spot, we've got the West Coast Eagles. In round 10, when the West Coast Eagles beat the Melbourne Demons, some were thinking that maybe West Coast could start playing a bit more better footy this year, but after last week, when they lost to the Crows by 99 points, I just don't see that happening in the rest of this season. 16th spot is currently where they sit on the ladder at the moment, and I've just decided to keep them there, considering I only see them winning one more game this year, and that's against North Melbourne next week. And Harley Reid definitely has made a huge impact on their club this year, but I just don't think it's going to affect the way they end off the season, so I'm just going to keep them here in 16th spot. In 15th position, the Hawthorn Hawks. This club's been playing the exact way I thought they would this year. They're still managing to pull off some upsets, but they do get smashed at times. With Ginnivan and Chol being new additions to their club this year, they actually have been able to make a huge impact on their team during their rough patches. And even though I do have this club in the bottom 4 this year, I do see them rising up on the ladder a little bit more in the next 2 to 3 years. In 14th spot, we've got the St Kilda Saints. The Saints played pretty decent in their first 4 games, but ever since they lost to GWS, they just haven't been the same side. I will admit though, some of their losses haven't been by high margins, but that doesn't really matter at the end of the day if your song isn't the one playing after that final siren goes. This Saturday, the Saints will be going up against the West Coast Eagles, and I don't expect them to get this one done considering it is being played at Optus Stadium. But I will say this now, if the margin is by 30 plus points, I'd be very worried to see how this club ends off the season. Finishing off the season in 13th place, I've got the Brisbane Lions. This club does have a really unfair advantage this year though, considering most of their games have been at home. But in my opinion, I just don't think this club's been playing very well at the Gabba this year. And Brownlow medalist Lachie Neale just has not been the same player this year. But this club has just really confused me this year. Within round 9, they managed to pull off a draw at the Adelaide Oval against the Adelaide Crows, and last week they lost to the Hawthorn Hawks. So this club is just really confusing at the moment, but I'm just going to keep them in 13th spot. In 12th place, we've got the Gold Coast Suns. The Suns finished in 15th place last year, but ever since they got Damien Hardwick as their coach, they've been a lot more of a competitive side this year. In fact, in round 10, the Suns put off a 64-point win against the Cats, and the Cats started off the season 7-0. And I think with them having a big home ground advantage in the second half of this season, I think they're pushing towards 12th spot in the ladder. Finishing off the 2024 season in the 11th spot is the Adelaide Crows. This club has had a decent start to the season considering they've had 4 wins, 6 losses, 1 draw, and they currently sit at 12th on the ladder. The Crows so far have had 6 games played at the Adelaide Oval and 7 more are to go, meaning that more than half of their games will be played at the Adelaide Oval. And I only really see them losing 2 of those games, one of them being against the Swans and the other one being against the Giants. Next on the ladder, in 10th spot, is the Fremantle Dockers. But I only think this club's been playing slightly better than they did last year, and last year, by the end of 2023, they finished at 14th on the ladder. Last week, the Pies had a 25-point lead against the Dockers at Optus Stadium towards the end of the game. So the Dockers definitely have been able to show how well they play in moments like that, which is why I'm going to leave them in 10th spot, just missing out of finals. Speaking of a club that will be just missing out of finals, in 9th spot, I've got the Western Bulldogs. This club, in my opinion, has not improved at all since last year, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Last year, the Dogs finished at 9th position on the ladder by the end of the season, and at the moment, they currently sit at 11th. So far, the Dogs have had 5 wins and 6 losses, and one of those wins were actually against the GWS Giants. And even though I have this club just missing out of finals this year, there's no doubt in my mind that they will be playing finals next year. And now here's where the ladder starts to get really interesting. Starting off the top 8, we have got the Essendon Bombers. This could come as a surprise for some of you, considering the Bombers have been playing one of their best seasons in a little while now. And after having an 11th spot finish last year, they currently sit at 2nd on the ladder. But I do see the Bombers losing at least half of their games in the second half of this season, considering they have got a pretty challenging fixture towards the end of the year. They also nearly choked a win last week against the Richmond Tigers, but they were skilled enough to pull off a 12-point win in the end. And considering we do know how poorly this club plays in finals, I'm just going to leave them in 8th spot. In 7th spot, we've got the Melbourne Demons. This club I would have liked to put higher, but I still haven't gotten over the fact that they lost to the West Coast Eagles in round 10. Now, as a Pies supporter, you don't need to explain to me that some good clubs do lose to bad clubs occasionally, but 35 points is a lot more than it sounds. Melbourne currently sit at 4th on the ladder, but I do see them slowly dropping down the ladder as the season goes on, and I think they'll get knocked out of the competition in the first week of finals. And 6th spot, we've got the Carlton Blues. Now, even though the Blues have started to fall off a little bit over the last couple of weeks, I still see them making a top 8 finish. And after looking at their fixture towards the second half of this year, I only really see them losing 3 or 4 more games this season. I also think that Mackay and Curnow will be goal chasing a lot this year, so I think it's going to be pretty difficult for this club to finish outside the 8. And I think they'll have a pretty strong finish towards the end of the year, so I'm going to leave them in 6th spot to finish off the season. In 5th spot, just missing out of the top 4, I've got the Geelong Cats. Some would argue that the Cat season is officially over after they started off the season 7-0 and now they haven't won a game since round 7. It's currently round 12. But once they get Dangerfield back in their side in a few weeks and possibly pick up a few good drafties during the mid-season draft, they should be back to their premiership favourite side that they were earlier in the season. The Cats so far have only lost 1 game at the GMHBA this year and they're likely to get 1 more win at GMHBA against the Richmond Tigers this week. Overall, since this club did start off the season 7-0, I think it's going to be pretty hard to kick them out of the 8 this year, which is why I'm thinking they're leading towards a 5th spot finish by the end of the season. And here is my official top 4 for 2024. In 4th spot, we've got the Collingwood Magpies. So for the Pies, they've not lost a game since round 2 against the Saints, and I know there has been 2 draws in between then, but if they're still receiving premiership points, I don't think it really matters. And even though the Pies do have a pretty difficult fixture towards the end of the year, we currently have 14 players in our side out with injury. So just imagine once we have all those players back from injury, we're going to be playing the best style of football that you guys have seen from us all year. But as most people do know, Collingwood do tend to choke some of the easier games, which is why I've got them in the top 4 and not top 2, top 3. So yeah, I'm going to leave them in 4th spot to finish up the season. In 3rd spot, we've got the GWS Giants. The Giants have got a pretty easy fixture towards the end of the year, which is why I've currently got them in 3rd spot. And I would actually be quite surprised if they happen to lose 2 more games this year. This club has been playing absolutely amazing at home this year and they've still got 5 more home games to finish off the season. And to finish off the season, they're versing 3 teams that are in the current bottom 4. I also do think this club will play really, really well towards the end of the year and I think it's going to be pretty hard to beat them. And now the only 2 teams that actually really matter this year, the top 2, the grand finalist, and in 2nd spot, I've got the Port Adelaide Power. They currently sit at 3rd on the ladder with them having 8 wins and 3 losses, one of those wins being against the Bombers and the other one being against the Cats. The Power also have a total of 6 more games to go at the Adelaide Oval this year, and even though they do have a solid amount of players out with injury, none of them are players that I would say will have a massive impact on the way the Power play, which is why I think they're still going to push towards a grand final this year and finish at 2nd on the ladder by the end of the season. And the potential premiers of this year, finishing off the spot in 1st position, I've got the Sydney Swans. So the Swans have only lost 1 game this year and that was against the Tigers and the margin was only under a goal. To be exact, 5 points. The Swans are currently undefeated at the SCG this year and they've still got 5 more SCG games to go in the final 12 rounds. I only really see this club losing 1 or 2 more games away from home this year, which is why I've got them in the 1st spot on the ladder. I will actually say if they finish off the ladder in 1st place, they definitely have had a major improvement after their 8th place finish last year. And that officially wraps up my official 2024 AFL mid-season predictions. And if you guys did enjoy this video, feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and hit the notification bell so you can be notified when new videos come out. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.